It's crazy kind of in this current era. I was just having a conversation this week, and we were talking about the level of sales ability and what sales is today. And it got me to want to make this video. So, one, I'm going to do a bit of a hot take here where I'm going to say that salespeople of today, if you don't have more than 5 years experience, chances are you've never actually really sold before. Kind of a bold thing. Now, closing business, hitting your sales target, navigating the systems of the business doesn't necessarily apply to what I'm referring to, which sounds kind of weird. Why would I say it in that manner? That's because over the last 5 years, there's a dramatic shift in terms of how sales is done or how sales is perceived to be done. And that shift is actually affecting negatively the ability for sales to be done year on year. So one, which is probably the biggest issue at the moment, is that contacting prospects has significantly changed. And let's go down the list on what I mean by that. So one, let's say if you are a cold caller. Well, now in various markets and various large organizations, there are things called phone trees and phone systems. Now, in the early stages, let's say 10, maybe 15 years ago, those phone trees would actually lead you to an individual. Or you could talk to a front office and get transferred to an actual person. And that's not happening today. Systems have advanced so much now to where front office, even if they wanted to connect you to your prospect, they can't. They have no ability to make that transfer unless you have a specific code or a specific extension, which means you would have already had to have known that person in order to reach out to them. Now, this is good in terms of not bogging down individuals with sales calls that are irrelevant, but it also removes the opportunity for them to be introduced to new opportunities and new things that could potentially help their business as well. So there's a little bit of peace of mind, but there's also lack of innovation as well. Now that's just from the calling. Let's get into the emailing one. Well, as we all know, the concept of spamming has been a bit of a broad term these days, where you could send an email out to someone for legitimate business interests with the right context for purposes that could really help their business, and asking for a conversation with the option for them to say no. And even still, that could be considered spam in the event that the individual is having a bad day or just doesn't want an email that day. And then that effect could actually impact your domain health, and you're listed as spam and a spammer, and then now you have to justify your email messaging in manners that is a certain way and all that. Then let's get to LinkedIn, where there is such a large saturation of outreach that individuals are not necessarily as responsive because they're just seeing an in-mail, and instead of reading the in-mail, the fact that they're even getting so many in-mails, they're not going to be responsive to it. So these blockers and these systems are actually leading us to say, well, how many opportunities do salespeople really have to pitch? Because connections are actually going down. The ability to sell, the ability to pitch is starting to reduce year on year. And we're heavily reliant on inbound opportunities, which brings in more noise than good. I mean, you have some interested and some good business coming in, but overall, you're probably getting a lot of bots and other elements there that might not necessarily be worth your time. So I guess I'm just asking the public, where would be the middle ground, and where are we headed in terms of salespeople? Where are we headed in terms of the word of sales? I have some ideas. I think the bubble's going to pop, and we're actually going to go back to traditional sales where human connection is important. People are open to calls, people are open to emails and new things being presented. But it's an interesting space right now because the up-and-coming salespeople are getting less opportunities to practice their craft, and companies are getting less opportunities to be able to present their value proposition due to all these different blockers, from emailing to calling to social. It's all being kind of boxed in a manner to where sales needs to be done in a very awkward manner that's not necessarily aligned with human behavior. So the art of sales is actually under attack, and I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on it.